Morning, guys. That's 3:43 in the morning. It's January 17th, 2021. We're John C. Roseman, California. Very quiet morning. Indeed. The political pundits are going to be talking their ass off tonight. They're going to be talking about the Biden administration coming in, the outgoing Trump and his nightmare in Elm Street, and everything else going to hell in a handbasket at this point. No, this is not a Martin Luther kind of King holiday of sorts. Basically, what it is an anniversary. Every once in a while, do something about an anniversary. I'll record something just to remind myself of something. Yeah. It's been 27 years. 27 years. A lot of people are like, what? Well, certain anniversaries happen. Man-made disasters, people remind themselves constantly on that one. Certain dates that happen regarding politics, science, natural disasters. Some people will tell you when they were, where they were, regarding a certain catastrophe that happens. Out in Indonesia, close to Java, maybe on Java, I guess. They got a volcanism going on right there. They got a volcano going off. Cauldron, I think. Spilling up a hell of a lot of gas, a lot of projectiles, and all the people are still convinced it's going to be a dangerous thing. But all volcanoes are dangerous. You just have to get the hell out of their way and stay out of their way, not to mention as far as way as you can because of the damn gas and the lava and everything else. Here's the thing, I got into geology at a very young age of 5 years old. It wasn't fascination, it was pure terror. I was living in San Fernando Valley during that time. Now, I've already did a video concerning about my recollections concerning my 94, but it's just like a rehash. So, my fears of the earth started at the age of 5 years old. My fear of everything else started at the age of 4 years old. Open heart surgery, died 3 times, and then you start fearing life and everything else under the sun. It changes a guy's perspective a great deal. Even in trying to understand all the terminology, book learning, and maybe some examples, I really wasn't taught very much geology and how to understand a thing or appreciate it. Just what professors would dryly teach you. What you had to understand the damn textbooks from college. If you're lucky enough, you get a field trip out and just see what geology is all about. Try to get a handhold on it. So until you actually go through the process, the actual geologic process that really either makes you appreciate things or makes you really terrified. And there's the latter that mostly made things that hard for me to understand why. It didn't matter what kind of book knowledge I was trying to apply towards things. It only applied that the physical things were happening. By the time I get away from geology class, 1 or 2 years later, geology hits. Another earthquake. Some people are born rock hounds. I was thrusted into being a rock hound of sorts. Trying to understand the mechanism. Trying to understand how come I'm so damn afraid of a shaking building. Only to realize a shaking building may come down on me. That's why I get a fear for it. This is an anniversary of that kind of situation because I almost had a house collapse on me. 27 years ago, Dan Merritt died. But luckily I didn't. And it made me more terrified and more unsettled, concerned about geology around me. And the more I understood, the more I learned about the damn thing, the more it scared the fuck out of me. And the more you go through the damn stuff, either you're supposed to be a rock hound, you're supposed to enjoy the damn experience, or you're totally terrified of the damn thing. All I wanted to do was learn why the damn thing was trying to kill me in the first place. It's an ongoing evolutionary process of the Earth. That's what I was told. Subduction zones, spreading centers, hot zones, fault lines shifting around on the top of a molten blob encrusted over. I want to look at it poetically at this point. But this is what one has to go by. It's by the poetics of how the whole thing is and how the whole thing is terrifying, but yet fascinating. Sort of, you're a rock hound. Rock hound not by choice, but forced into it. I kept telling people that I'd trade you one disaster zone for another disaster zone. Well, this is what happens. People study their disasters so much, they become experts in them. You become accustomed to them. Only because they see the damn things coming, I kept telling them. You don't know when an earth is going to shift on your ass. And when it does, it does. And you don't know how strong the damn thing's going to be. You see a hurricane coming by. First storms up as a tropical storm out right by the mid-Atlantic areas past Africa. On its way towards America. Picks up strength and speed. At certain times of the season, all the way through December, we're talking about several months of it. Intense months too. And during that time you have tropical storms that just dump a lot of rain and some wind. Some people say no big deal. You get the hurricanes, Cat 1 and up, and then it really becomes a big deal. And along the eastern coastline, they're supposed to be dealing with that kind of stuff. Or how about the nor'easters coming down and just dumping a hell of a lot of ice and snow? We don't have that out here in the West Coast. We get the warm weather, warm currents protecting us from that. We don't get as much rain as we should have been doing in the first place. And if we did, it would be lucky enough. And with our season, we get fires. But this is talk of a natural disaster on an anniversary 27 years ago. And people look at me strange like, why are you talking about this? It doesn't have anything to do with me. Yes, it doesn't have anything to do with you unless you're in the zone and you know the damn thing's going to happen again and again and again and again. It'd be surprising as certain different geologic activities happen and they don't even realize it. Try this one. Sinkholes. You get limestone dissolving in the ground underneath you. Creates a huge pocket, huge cavern. There's enough water in there to dissolve the limestone. It's very soluble. Think of it as vitamin C. Vitamin C tablets, they get to be absorbed a little bit in the body system, but the rest of it gets to be flushed out. You have those damn vitamin C tablets. You think you're going to be exploding once you're right, but the body has a way of flushing all this stuff out of your body. I'm right about the candy vitamin C thing the Sunkist did 30 plus years ago, 35, 40 years ago. Eat the damn tablets, especially when you feel like you're getting low on vitamin C. Always became like candy sometimes. Orange tasting or fruit tasting. But the vitamin C that you begin gaining is supposed to be protecting you from the bug, and the body would only absorb so much, and the rest of it would go out through your urine. Think of the limestone at this point over here. Limestone is the solidification and remnants of creatures, of ancient creatures back then who have turned their bone, and their bones are made of calcium. Calcite, actually. Limestone. It changed to crystalline forms. You don't have that in graves, but you do have that in buried creatures, or enough of the mineral around that we use a great deal in other products. And sometimes we're not aware of the mineral layers underneath our own feet. And when those layers get to be dissolved by enough groundwater, enough water activity underneath, it becomes a vacuum, it becomes a hole in there. And therefore you get your sinkholes left and right. People get to be sucked into a damn thing and never come out again. Because it could be for miles and miles, or actually hundreds and hundreds of feet down, depending on the layer that you just ate away during that time. Very scary. I'd seen too much of it happening out there in the South and in Florida, different areas, that there's enough saturation in the ground, eats away the limestone, and then Earth would go burp. You don't know whether or not you're going to be walking on ground, solid ground, or you're going to be walking on eggshells. Calcium and eggshells. How about that one? Geology is fascinating enough when you look at it different points of view. But when you look at it from a traumatic experience that happened, it changes your perspective a bit. For some people, they love the thrill, they love the challenge, they love the feeling of it, the excitement of it all. I'm looking at a countdown right now on my cable clock. In about 35 plus minutes from now, or 34 minutes and some odd seconds, we're supposed to be having the 27th anniversary. Earth shifts on its own time schedule. But for me, I mark it in my head, as other people who have been through their experiences. If they've been through a violent, earth-shattering moment in their life, they have it permanently marked in their heads. Either it means something or it doesn't mean something, and you bypass the damn thing. For me, geologic processes do. I've been through 71 earthquake. I didn't remember the damn date of it. I just remember the damn year and all hell breaking loose, and I was about 5 years old on that one. A few decades later, you had to deal with 1987 Quake up in Whittier Narrows. Oh yeah, Landers earthquake going crazy. Shit. Yeah, I remember that little shaker. 4 or 5, maybe even 6. Barely felt it out here, except like, oh shit, what the hell is that? It'll get your attention, that's for sure. Whittier Narrows was a good one too. But when you're sitting on top of a bomb, when you're sitting on top of a fault line during that time, I remember over in that Alden area, Reseda, Sarcana Valley. Somewhere in that area, there was an underground fault line ready to rupture. The damn thing shifted underneath, shifted everything else on top, and you couldn't even see where the fault line was, except maybe some deformations on the ground. But you know the impact left and right. Everything that you knew, everything that you seen, everything epicenter area. But that was enough energy to do a lot of damage, I'll tell you, to Southland. Nature has a way of shaking people up left and right. It tells you that you're going to be alive to experience everything and then live to tell about it, or else you're going to be part of a tragedy that happens, such as body counts, or casualties, or maybe if you're lucky enough, you get out of it with an injury or two. Just bad memories. For me, it's bad memories. And yeah, damn, I had a house collapse on me, so how's that for a bad memory? The other video I had prior to this one talked about it. But this is just my own anniversary concerning about nature's 9/11 for me. January 17th, 1994. In my head, a date lives in misery, not infamy, though. Misery and infamy, actually. But here's the thing. This is human lifespan. About 100, 150 years if we're lucky enough. And ours is not even just a blink in geologic time. Geologic time deals with thousands of millions of years of process. And in our time, it's very dramatic and very stressful. But in geologic time, it's just like a stretch or something like that it doesn't even realize, and it still continues its process at its own slow pace. But then some things quickly build up, and then boom, it happens, and then afterwards it just gets back to its normal routine. And we can't deal with that because we're so screwed up on the damn thing. I know I am still screwed up on the damn thing, but I'm still reminded of the power of nature. Nature is a frightening thing sometimes, but it's also something to be admired and appreciated. We live on a planet that constantly changes itself, changes its environment a great deal. A dynamic living world. Although we're too damn stupid to notice this damn stuff. And when we do, we curse and cuss at everything. I like to tell some people my ass. Maybe if our material actually lasted longer than the earth, I'll be surprised. We keep finding bones that are thousands and thousands of years old from different creatures and possibly from Homo sapiens. We've also had other people keep claiming that the world started several thousand years ago, and that's about it, because this one book told them so. Because the old stories that were translated and put into the old book told them so. And yet, we would go for the science because we think we know better, because we're analyzing this, interpreting this data coming over to us. Radioactive isotopes, decay of them. And because of that, we can make our calculations and our mathematical process to figure out how old anything is. We think we're so damn smart. We're so damn smart we couldn't even get out of a damn volcano if we wanted to in the first place. I'm thinking of Mount Vesuvius a long time ago, in Pompeii, back in Rome. Long-held beliefs concerning about the Roman and Roman gods, actually, during that time, Greek gods. They thought they knew better. The volcano blew its top off, and everybody else lived on top of the mountain, buried alive, not to mention with ash and also soot and a lot of sin ash. Cooked them to death, solidified them, and turned them into statues. We haven't had that opportunity happening these days. But we are constantly reminded of the geologic process. 1 or 2 years ago, I think it was last year, we had Hawaii, main island of Hawaii, dealing with Kilauea. Apparently Pele was pissed off, trying to clear out her throat a little bit in the ground. Pele would be their own volcanic god over there, apparently. We formed many legends, many mythologies regarding the process of the earth one way or another. The stars of the universe and everything else. Perhaps there are mysterious forces we don't even realize and don't even understand. And perhaps we're keen on worshiping them. I know there's one particular force, for me personally, I have. And I don't give that up for anything. Only because when you have intimate knowledge or personal experience about it, you don't get rid of it that easily. But regarding the other things, it could have been. Could have been. But the process is whatever it is, whatever kind of labels you put to it. You either appreciate them, or you'd be constantly terrified about the whole damn situation. And I'm bordering on both of them right now as it is. If I had been living on the East Coast of the United States, or the Southeast area, I would be subject to hurricane season left and right. I would be subject to a lot of heat, a lot of humidity, bugs, different things going on over there. And be subject to a lot of storms that roll in. Moist, fertile grounds that they have over there, that they try to grow certain products down. Depends upon the weather, as all of our growing needs do. How violent they're going to be, or how cooperative they're going to be. In the Midwest, you have Tornado Alley, where high velocity winds turn into a cyclonic event and has a way of destroying towns and people's lives left and right. Then they start rebuilding all over again, much like the people on the East Coast. And the people over here on the West Coast just bellyache about things. Yeah, we like to bellyache out here in South Florida concerning about stuff like that. But when you live right next to a damn time bomb all the time, and you keep forgetting about it, nature has a way of reminding you every so often by other fault lines that the main event's going to be coming. The main event's going to be coming. If you've been living here in the Southland of California, you've heard of the San Andreas Fault line. Everybody learned about San Andreas Fault line. We haven't had this damn thing blow up since about 160 years so far. The scientists have tried to time this thing. They're saying one day this thing is going to blow up. And when it does, everything's going to be changing left and right. People have made bets whether or not if California's going to fall into the ocean or not. But that's going to be above a 10-point or 15-point Richter, we're talking. Magnitude at this point. Maybe extended magnitude on that one. But no, I doubt California will be going into the ocean, but if it does, I'm not living on the San Fernando Valley side of it. I'm living on the Antelope Valley side, and I'm going to be seeing things I'm not even going to like. And experiencing through it. The way the geologic makeup is for the whole area is if well, my brain is going foggy at this point over here, so I'm just going to cut this video short. But I do realize that this is basically an anniversary. I have to keep talking and reminding myself that certain anniversaries come up, people talk about in fondness, or actually in memory, and then also what they've been and experienced through, and how things have changed their lives, and how things have made them do things differently. I'm actually out here, the same thing, Lee. A lot of people over here haven't experienced earthquakes often enough. Back east, the storms are different. They come in, they know them. It's on a constant basis. Out here, geology is different. It takes a sweet-ass time. Therefore, people have amnesia. Or they haven't had the experience, as some of us older forts have, that we've been through enough of it. So let me end this thing saying that be appreciative of your environment right now as it is. Wonder at the spectacle of it all. Because afterwards, we're about to be in